funny thing happened the other day. I was had a jam session with a guy who had three four-string basses all strung up B-E-A-D, which in German we call Ha-A-A-D, because in German they say H for B, and what we call B is B flat, but that's another story. So the guy had three really cool pieces. He had like a Jackson Kelly and an Oakland from 1974, Oakland made by Matsumoto, and an Aria JP Pro. So, and he just said like, yeah, string them up to B because I don't really need the G string doesn't cut through in heavy music, and he was just like, yeah, so I like to be able to go below the E, and this is not a novel idea. I know that people do this. I just think it's interesting, the progression toward more and more bands tuning way below E to like C sharp, now way below D, I mean, they're tuning down to B and stuff, even A, and then the bass player has to follow that, and, there are a lot of bands, and as a baritone player, doubling up with a B below the baritone B can present some interesting situations, especially for live mixing. And this whole subject, this whole topic reminded me that I do have my own bass that I strung up B-E-A-D a long time ago. Anyway, it brings up two topics that I could rant and rave about all day. Using B basses tuned to B, to accompany a baritone guitar or a really low tuned guitar, and then the second subject is Korean production from the old days when Korea started making relatively high-end stuff for pretty cheap, and seems to be one of them. A Ken Rose, a brand name which I know nothing about. I couldn't find much about on the internet. So if you know if Ken Rose was even a real person, or if this is just a name they stuck on, they had like a factory in Korea making good stuff, and they used the Ken Rose name. I don't know. There seemed to be some controversy on this on the internet, but anyway. Apparently these have always been pretty cheap, and you can get them on eBay for like $200 now. And, this is kind of a affordably priced, a low-end, high-end bass. Kind of a boutique thing. It's made of Bubinga with a brass bridge and, active electronics, and they stained the maple neck here and at the headstock to try to make it match the Bubinga body, but not really. And then the whole topic of Bubinga and these tropical woods on bass, and if it even makes a difference, to get into the whole tone wood wars. But that's more for funky guys. I don't know. Slap has never been my strong point, but it's a little fun. Anyway, I never really learned the real funky slap, but hitting hard with your thumb for some heavy music, kind of fun. Anyway, so I gotta say, this seems to have always been affordable, and I don't know exactly when this was made, but I picked it up almost 20 years ago off a guy who got it earlier than that, so maybe this is the late 90s, I don't know. It was my first active bass, and in my first band in Hamburg, Caligula's Palace, which predates Shy Squad by 3 years, we were doing live trip hop, and I wanted to have a B string. I wanted to have, low D's, low notes below E, and turning up the active, turning up the electronics, turning up the gain on the active electronics could make sound a little bit more like an electronic sound, or not like the usual hack and slash bass playing I do in my fucking noise rock shit, Something a little bit chiller. I don't know. It's been a while. But, yeah, I would recommend looking for one of these, because they seem to, just not have the name recognition to drive up the price. And if you can still get one of these for $200 on eBay, I would recommend getting that over something new that you could get for $200 these days, because that brings up the topic of how stuff from Korea that used to be pretty good and pretty cheap 20 years ago seems to all be produced in in China now, and it's rare to get a neck this good. They really put attention into getting a great neck here. 24 frets, and the frets are really cleanly milled, polished. It's not. It doesn't have any problems with frets farting out or the fretboard being uneven or anything. And I have seen that on a fair number of my China guitars. So I also have some China guitars which don't have any, machining problems. But there are reasons to prefer something made in Korea for back when you can get them for cheap, because I have like 7 or 8 made in Korea guitars, and they're all pretty good. Like, none of them have any problems with the neck or any tuning issues or anything like that, and they all have very nicely done frets, just like you would expect from the Japanese. And I'm not making an ethnic issue out of it. It's just seeming to not letting stuff leave the factory with a shitty neck seems to be a thing that they do. They definitely do that in Japan, and Korea apparently too. Not letting stuff leave the factory when it's a little bit crappy. In China, they don't necessarily care about that so much. Anyway, so another issue is since all bands these days tune to way below E or D, even, they're all tuning to C and a lot of times B. And as a baritone guitarist, I never tried playing with a bass before, because the whole point in Shy Squad was to have a 2-man band where you could sort of hit some low notes on the baritone, and it was to eliminate the need for a third person. So the issue is, can you get a good live sound playing in the context of really heavy music where you're all just slamming on riffs and B, Because I have seen, of course, a lot of bands do this, but they're mostly in the field of doom and sludge, where they're, trying to make just massive distortion where it all kinds of blends together, and you have a really heavy distorted low B on the bass backing up a low B on the guitar, or a C, but a lot of times it is B. Like Earthbong, some friends of mine in Hamburg here. Kiel. Okay. Earthbong, who is very well known for slamming on the B, and it sounds like massive sludge distortion all the way through. But what do you do if you want to have the what I like to call the chainsaw bass sound? Because I think one of the most interesting things some of the bands I like Big Black and Shellac, it comes from getting an actual high end bass sound and using a trebly but low bass sound where maybe they're scraping with the pick a little bit. Or Jesus Lizardy, you know, but they never tune to B, and they don't use 5 strings and stuff. And then there's the whole question about people who don't like 5 strings and have the, you know, string spacing scrunched together, and that's a good reason. Or if you just never need the G string, and it is kind of an interesting feeling to have your D up here. It's kind of a funny feeling to be playing an A up here. And then the possibilities for doing smoother music. Or, you know, a crazy slap. Or some kind of tapping up here. That's the thing where I'd rather have distortion, actually, so let's see what happens. Ah, it's too much. Okay, overdrive. It's interesting on a 24 fret neck to have that feel of having these things you can tap on up here. I don't know. Something I need to practice more. Before I get on camera and but it's kind of like making the B string cut through when you already have a ton of distortion on the guitars. Now I put on a really thick B string. This is a 145. I think that's almost as heavy as it gets until you start getting into that crazy shit where they're tuning that to F sharp and stuff. Or like, you know, the first song on Bleach, Blue, where they tuned down to C by accident because they thought they were drop tuning to D, but they were already in D. Anyway, yeah, Nirvana, I always thought they had a great bass sound, but, like, you know, of course they never used 5 strings or tuned down to B exactly, but Blue is in C, and that's kind of fun. Wait, I was playing in D by accident. Oh, okay. That's C. Okay, now. It's kind of a funny feel, but anyway, I always thought that would be really hard to EQ live, or for live sound, to get riffs and B on the bass that are really cutting through the mix, maybe where you don't have distortion, you're on the bass, but you do on guitar, and then you're kind of getting a trebly bass sound where trying to do the chainsaw thing, but in B. Yeah, anyway, I was kind of always averse to that idea of being in a heavy band where you're always slamming in B, but people do that a lot, and if you're one of those people who do, why don't you write about your EQing and live mixing tips to get your bass to cut through the mix when you're doing really heavy, sludgy stuff, or because I always thought it would be kind of a sound man's nightmare to have constant distortion on the super low register and make it all sound transparent. But to do the B, I don't know, to do it like the open B is a little palm muting, makes it sound more focused. Yeah, anyway, write about your experiences about that, and also if you have anything to say about the Korean-made stuff that seems to have been priced out of the market, because now the guitars made in Korea is kind of billed as more of a high-end thing, and the entry-level stuff is generally from China, or possibly Indonesia, but yeah, the days of the $200 Korean guitar seem to be a thing of the past. Like I have some low end stuff from Korea that's pretty good, like an Epiphone Firebird made in Korea. It's got a nice neck, a really nice finish, and I got it for $250 Euro bucks back in like 2010 or 11. So those days seem to be over, and in Korean factories seem to be putting a lot more attention into having a finely finished product leave the factory, and they were cheap as hell back then, and now they tend to be over the 500 mark for sure. And I can only imagine that made in Japan stuff nowadays is really expensive. New products from Japan. So yeah, write what you think about that in the comments. Do you use heavy use of the bass string in heavy music? Or aggro noise rock? It seems to be that the 5-string or playing in B in general is shunned in the Steve Albini sphere, the shellac and Jesus Lizard and stuff. They will go down to D sometimes, but these guys is kind of Sonic Youth and the whole thing that I'm into. There seemed to have been an anti 5-string going on, or at least an anti way low tuning, which is why I haven't really practiced with that idea more. But I'm gonna jam with this guy who's got all of his basses in B, and I'm gonna use my baritone tune B to B, and we're gonna find out if we can get a nice transparent live mix where the bass really cuts through and where it doesn't sound sludgy, because I'm actually not into sludge rock, but a lot of my friends are. So, we got two topics. Korean production, the good old days when you could get cool stuff for under 300 definitely, and how those days seem to be over. Write your experiences about Korean-made products you have and how they compare with Chinese-made products you have and that kind of thing. And if you play socially acceptable music like jazz or funk, you're also welcome to post too. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for your attention. Oh my God, this is 20 minutes. And have a nice next section of eternity.